我们的会议即将开始。会议期间，我们将为您提供中英文双语翻译。如有需要，您可以使用座椅上的耳机。频道1为英文，频道2为中文。
Welcome to East Tech West. Please take your seats and put your mobile phones on silent. We are about to begin. We will be providing both English and Mandarin translations throughout the conference. You'll find a headset.
欢迎来到 CNBC 全球科技大会，请您入座并将手机调至静音模式。我们的会议即将开始。会议期间，我们将为您提供中英文双语翻译。如有需要，您可以使用座椅上的耳机。频道1为英文，频道2为中文。
Welcome to East Tech West. Please take your seats and put your mobile phones on silent. We are about to begin. We will be providing both English and Mandarin translations throughout the conference. You'll find a headset on your chair.
Welcome to CNBC's invite-only tech retreat in Nansha, Guangzhou, China. Over the next 2 days, you'll have a chance to hear firsthand from some of the world's most influential technology leaders as they dissect, debate, and discuss what's next for this exciting industry. This is the 5th edition of CNBC's East Tech West, and this year, we're focusing on the hot topic that's driving dialogue in all sectors, artificial intelligence. We've divided the on-stage itinerary.
欢迎参加 CNBC 在中国南沙举行的技术交流会。接下来2天，您将有机会亲耳聆听全球最具影响力的科技领袖者的剖析辩论。那我们这是第5次会议了，我们将聚焦推动各行各业对话的热门话题——人工智能。我们呢也划分了以下几个议题，包括投资、医疗保健、自动驾驶和可持续发展，以及技术如何能够帮助我们节约成本、获得更高的回报、提高效率和实践，最后为我们留下更好的遗产。这个讨论过程中将会有1对1的谈话、小组讨论和场外的分场的讨论。我们还进行现场直播，让全球都能一睹风采。
But only you will
但是
get
只
the
有您
chance
才
to
有机
discuss
会
the
在今
issues
天特别的
firsthand
时间同
with
重要
the
人
people
物
that
一起
matter.
探讨第一手
Special
问题，
networking
并且
breaks
提供
throughout the day,
体验我
as
们
well
的
as
额外
experience
福利，
off-session
比如说我
perks
们为您
such
精心
as
准备的
fine
美食
dining
和
and entertainment.
休闲。
Ladies and gentlemen, it is CNBC's great
非
pleasure
常
to
荣
kick
幸
off
的
the
宣布，会议
proceedings.
即将开始，
Please give a warm
请
welcome
热
to
烈欢
your
迎
host.
CNBC 的主持人。
All right, let's get started. 那我们正式呢就进入接下来的座谈环节。那么第一场座谈 Fireside Chat 将聚焦在资本市场的风向。那我们知道，步入2023年以来啊，全球经济增长呢是面临着诸多的压力，特别是美联储开启了加息的周期以来，全球各国呢也面临着各国利率不断攀升，同时呢也面临着高通胀带来的不少的压力。那么这使得全球资本市场啊，在未来也是充满着巨大的不确定性。那么接下来呢，我们就有请 CNBC 驻北京的资深记者 Evelyn Chen 来到我们的舞台上。加入他的是纽约证券交易所中国区主管葛成浩 Kobe 哥，来探讨一下中国企业在如今的国际资本现状中面临的挑战和机遇。Welcome to the stage, Evelyn. By the way, you will be seeing a lot of Evelyn over the next 2 days as her focus is on China's economy and the financial markets.
那我们现在是有
Thank you
请
so much, Chen.
Evelyn
It's great to be back here at East Tech West in Nansha. This is the 5th time, and really excited for all the conversations we're going to be having over the next 2 days. I'm so glad to have with me Kobe Guo from the New York Stock Exchange, heading up their China operations. This conversation is going to be in Chinese, so please adjust your translation devices accordingly. 非常高兴 Kobe 能参加我们这次的活动。我们知道今年其实大家对这个 IPO 市场有蛮大的期望，但是可能整体的表现是低于我们的一些预期。从纽交所包括美国股市这边怎么去分析现在的情况？
艾文你好，很高兴我们又能再次线下见面啊。首先从我的角度，非常感谢 CNBC 的邀请，能有机会来到今天的现场，跟大家共同探讨一下大家喜欢的话题。那包括我也看了今天这2天的 session。其实会有非常多很好的分享，也是干货满满，所以我觉得也很高兴、很荣幸能作为这个第一个开场嘉宾，来抛砖引玉吧，谈一谈确实看到在今天整一个国际资本市场充满了变化的时代下，那中国企业如何更好的去抓住海外资本市场的机遇和面临的挑战，抓住机遇，并且一些考量因素。对，那我看到就今年，首先美国资本市场吧，我觉得因为我们每周其实都会跟海外的全球的同事一起去做一个分享。那我觉得今天美股整个走势跟我们年初的分享其实是还是比较吻合的。那首先看到去年的美股市场，那当然考虑到俄乌的事件，包括暴力加息的环境所以说确实也是比较疲软。那大家都在等待说美股市场什么时候能恢复。那我们看到说，今年看到从美股的宏观上看到说整个加息的环境吧，在2季度之后相对会比较明确。那同时也看到从美国一些经济数据也看到整体是在一个可能很大概率会实现一个软着陆。所以在这个大背景下，也在美国加息的环境下，我们看到钱还是都回到了美国本身。美国二级市场的流动性还是非常充足的。但是其实看到就是说 IPO 这个产品更
be of great potential, but IPO, to be honest, will be more risky. So we see that interest rate in the U.S., in particular, for the long-term deficit ranges between 5% to 6%. So for investors, most of them are still interested about the capital market. In particular, they are very interested about the blue chips and the high-performing listed companies in the U.S. market. While also we see that some of the top performers in the U.S. stock market, they have increased their stock shares. And also from the second quarter onward, we began to see some more promising IPO projects. Some of them are kind of a landmark project in New York Stock Exchange. I believe in May of this year, you are also with us, Johnson & Johnson's project in the New York stock market. They have split their asset. They have split their healthcare and also the consumer product, and also with that they have raised $3.8 billion with this project on the stock market of New York. And also Kava. Kava is another very illustrative example. It have launched its IPO, and also with that we see it has increased the returns by 30-fold, and by the end of June, we see the stock market in U.S. have embraced more investors from different sectors, from different regions and countries. And also, we see after Labor Day, I believe the stock market in September have embraced a new hype, a new peak time for its development. That is what I have observed in the first half of 2023. In the first half, I believe the most popular stocks include the healthcare, energy, consumer product. So 8 out of the 10 major IPOs took place on the New York Stock Exchange, and some high-tech companies now becomes popular once again in eyes of investors, including the ARMS, the semiconductor, Instacom of the internet industry, and also Clivio of the SaaS software sectors. So we see that the total they have raised over $5 billion or $6 billion with their project. In particular, Faber and Instacom, their pricing of the stock are pretty high. So I think these 3 IPOs have given us more confidence, and also have give us a very good benchmark for the new IPO to be launched this year. Ideally speaking, we still see there is a gap between the real market and our expectation. For the 3 projects I just mentioned, I believe the 3 IPOs are pretty well performing at this moment, but there is still a gap between their performance and the market expectation in comparison to the past years. And also, IPO, I believe, on average, they will launch about 10% to 15%, while for this 3 project, this figure, it was only 7% to 8%. That means maybe those enterprises want to do this to downscale the IPO in order to attract more investors. And also, we see some changes for the pricing of some ratios on the stock market. I believe those enterprises that spend more time and more effort to communicate with the investors before the launching of IPO. So all in all, I expect that more new IPO product will be launched before the end of this year. Some of them might be high-performing, high-profile projects. So with that, I see a pickup of IPO. But to be honest, we're living in a world full of uncertainties. But anyway, we still see the market is recovering. So we are talking about higher for longer, and we have to reschedule our timetable. You will see things have been changing overnight. For example, things like the geopolitical conflict, like the Russia and Ukraine war, etc. So I believe we should have a more long-term view. I believe there will be another window time in the May and April of next year. Okay, so for the Chinese and the process, I believe they are confronted with more challenges. In particular, in March of this year and in the August of the year, we see executive orders from Biden's administration. Orders may bring about uncertainties for Chinese enterprises. We will see those executive orders in place by the end of September. So in response to that, what kind of recommendations would you like to give to the Chinese investors? So from my perspective, I believe that the IPO of a Chinese enterprise, so to be honest, I see there is a very strong and growing willingness from the Chinese enterprises who want to go to be listed and launch their IPOs on the New York Stock Exchange. But we also see TCOB issues and also the negative impact from the COVID-19. However, despite all those impact, we still see very strong and growing awareness and motivations for Chinese enterprises who want to list their companies and launch IPOs on stock exchange of New York and U.S. stock market. So I believe if they really want to do this, they are challenged in the following way. The first one is that not so familiar about the procedures. To be honest, I believe the procedures for IPO are much more complicated compared with years before. I actually have helped many Chinese enterprises to get listed in U.S. stock market. I still remember only spent 4.5 months and also 5 months for the first one and second project from China's IPO. So now it is no longer the case. For example, if you really want to launch your IPO, you need 12 months preparation period. And also we see that you need to be registered in the banking and security supervision commissions in China. So there is a more complicated procedures. And also, we see that some companies in the past, they will firstly go to the Hong Kong stock market, where now we see more and more they come to the U.S. market, and more of them have been approved. So we also see the de-SPAC listing project. So we see more possibilities. So we still see smooth channels for the approval and the registration. In future, I believe the procedures, although are more complicated than before, will be more and more standardized and more warmly and well accepted by the investors and process. So for JIC, and also for some other companies, they have been very successful in their IPOs in U.S.
And the second challenge will be from the investors. We believe that investors would have already noticed all these kind of new policies, not only about reporting to the NSRD, but also to talk about the real estate industry. And we understand that in this coming December, there will be a very important fourth quarterly meeting organized by the central government. And that conference can also exert great influence to the future development of the industry. So investors will be very attentive to this kind of latest policies. Moreover, there could be some kind of tension between China and USA, like President Joe Biden has already issued several opinions about the sanctions towards the Chinese companies and some Chinese industries. So investors may have some kind of wait-and-see attitude. But of course, there are just some single catalysts based on some specific events. And we can see that there are more and more in-person dialogues between China and USA. And we also see there are some kind of good projects of the Chinese companies to get listed in NASDAQ. So we believe that that is a very good beginning. And in the future, there will be a rebound of the Chinese listing in overseas. I remember you asked me two questions. Like, you asked me, hey, Kobe, what will be the next opportunity for the Chinese companies to get listed in U.S.? And my answer is that we have already seen there are some kind of changes in geopolitical relationship and also in all these kind of policies. So I have to say that there are more and more uncertainties ahead. But still, we need to see whether we have made a good ship. Let me take a metaphor. If you want to sell your boats overseas, you not only need to see the weather report, you also need to build a very good boat, a very good ship. So if your company is like a ship, you need to build a very good one. And then you need to keep waiting. You need to be very careful, because the future would not be the same like 2020 or 2021. The requirements for the quality and the qualification of the listed companies in overseas markets will be higher and higher. And the investors may have higher expectation for the return rates from the listed companies. So yes, on the one hand, we need to pay attention to the weather forecasts, but on the other hand, we build a very good ship. I see. So it's not impossible for companies to get listed overseas. So the Chinese companies need to have good business. I see. Thank you very much, Kobe.
Oh.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks.